the old underhanded tracker. It's only from 4 or 5 feet, but everybody wants to do that. The hunted throw. Hey, brothers, welcome to my review of the one and only Tops Brown tracker knife. And I hope you guys stick around for the full video because we are going to be doing some snare making today, not just your average baton feather stick kind of knife review test. So stay tuned, my brothers. Love y'all. Good morning, all my brothers. Man, it is a frosty 25-degree weather morning out here in northwest Georgia. And I don't know about you guys, but I just love being in the woods when it is that cold. So today I bring to you a knife that needs no introduction. It is the Tom Brown Tracker by Tops. And even though there's a little bit of controversy going on right now about this knife and who actually invented it, we're just going to talk about the knife for the moment. All right, so tracker knife. Now you guys will see out there the price point on this thing and you'll freak out, and you should freak out because $200 to $300 for a knife is a lot of knife, tons of knife, right? That's a lot of money for a knife. But this knife, this tracker knife, is unlike any of the other cheap knockoffs out there, man. I did a review earlier on some nice budget-friendly tracker knives, and they are great knives. They perform well, but they are not this knife, all right? This is on its own playground, all right? This is the United States Marine Corps. The budget trackers are JROTC, all right? So right off the rip, look at how thick this blade is, man. I mean, it is at least 6 millimeters. I can't remember the exact measurement, but it was pushing 7, if I remember correctly. Does have the true point, which is good for hitting skin, puncturing it, slicing it. The groove for gutting. The axe head chop, it is sharp. It is a saber grind here, and it's black powder coated. The saw on this tracker knife is actually functional, unlike the other budget tracker knives you may have purchased, all right? Again, this is the Tops Tom Brown Tracker. Woo, I just cut my finger on it. And it is made by, it is made in the USA. Look at that, look how sharp that is. I just bloodied my finger on it like a retard. But that's what happens when you play with knives a lot. So, the thickness on it is incredible. The weight of it, man. When you pick this knife up, you feel why it's a $200 or $300 knife. This one feels way different than all of the other ones out there, man. So much different than all the other ones out there. And it's a great throwing knife. Look at that going, man. It's just going, dude. It is a great throwing knife, and it is great for all kinds of different field activities, and it really can replace a hatchet to a degree, okay? And it can replace your pocket knife to a degree too. So let's get into it, brothers. So the Tom Brown tracker knife comes with a really great sheath by Tops. I personally prefer to carry my Tom's Brown tracker on, excuse me, a duty belt, okay? Now on your duty belt, you can mount it vertically. Why I like to do it on a duty belt is these scout carries can be kind of awkward if you're in and out of your truck a lot. This does not feel good up against the back of your seat, okay? But you can turn the Tom Brown tracker knife by Tops vertical as well. So if you want a scout carry, I recommend doing it on a duty belt. That way you can clip it on and off pretty easily as you're in and out of your truck and then produce your knife. Just what a absolutely phenomenal chopper. I mean, just goes through it, brother. Oh, so good. No questions asked. This is gonna be my ground steak. All right, nice and pointy so it goes into the ground easily. For your bail notch, you're going to want to make an X and then carve up. You want to leave yourself plenty of room for the stake to go into the ground. This type of notch works best with green wood because you don't have to worry about old wood blowing apart on you. You want to make it about a third of the way through the wood. This is your bail notch for your stake that will go into the ground. Here, I'm utilizing the knife's function, the saw function, to cut me a groove in the top of it. This is what I'm going to wrap my snare wire around. For the top section of the snare, I chose a piece of branch that already has a V-cut groove in it. This is so it can catch the snare. When the snare releases and the animal trips it, it will pop off the bail notch. Here I have brass snare wire. This one is a 22 gauge. You can also use 25 gauge. You can even use the inside of 550 cord, but it makes great snare wire, okay? I like the brass out here. I can see it a little bit better personally, but that may not be an option for you. What we'll do is on our trigger stick is this will tie into the bail notch here, all right? I have a section here for 550 cord or snare wire that'll attach to our limb, and then a bottom piece where we will set the trap. For your spring stick, find you a sapling that doesn't have a lot of branches on it, or trim the branches off. We will use this to propel the trap forward, and it will hang the animal in the air and thus not keep it on the ground. So in theory, while it's hanging on the ground, if it's up high enough, hanging off of the ground, other predators like Bismarck or coyotes won't be able to get to it. Next, we're going to start by hammering our stake in. Chosen a soft part of ground. Now, again, this is not the greenest of wood. Normally you want to use green wood, but I'm just making the best out of what I've got out here, trying not to hurt any wildlife, plants, trees, trying to follow the rules of being out here. And just so y'all know, this is only being made for instructional purposes. I'm not going to leave this snare out here. It is just as a video training device. Your stake, you do want it planted firmly. You don't want it accidentally getting pulled out. Just gonna make a simple slip with your snare. Now, one thing I'll tell you guys is if you bend your snare wire up too much, don't feel too bad about it. You can always take this snare wire and put it up against a branch like this to round it out, because you do want it to snap close quickly, okay? And we're just gonna pretend that our snare here is baited. Or we have found a rabbit trail for it to hook into, okay? I've taken a simple bowling knot, and we have rigged it here to the end, and now we will fasten the rest of the wire to our sapling here. It's going to spring the prey out of the way and off the ground and strangle it. You guys can see our trap is now in place. We have our snare wire with perhaps some bait on the other side of it, or at a rabbit opening. Our trigger stick is set. You want it to just barely be set, and the line is tied to the flare. Now, as our prey comes in, and guys, I will say this, you've got to watch your eyeballs when you do this shit, because this will kick your ass, okay? You do not want to be getting hit in the eye by one of these. Our rabbit will come through, his head in, and he will snag the snare. And now he is hung up. And that's how the snare works. So you can shorten your line to bring your prey higher, but that will, if you're checking your traps daily, you may not need to keep it away from predators, but if you're checking them every 2 days, that might help, okay? So there he is, hangs to his death. So as you guys can see, I've now removed the snare out of the thing. I'm going to wrap it up and put it in my pack for further examples, maybe in some other videos. I hope you guys enjoyed my Tom Brown tracker kind of take. I know it's a little bit different than most of your other knife reviews, but I wanted to do something besides just feather stick, just baton wood. And man, if you guys liked the little snare video, or if you want me to do a little bit clearer, more detailed version on it, tell me in the comments, man. I hope you guys really enjoyed this. You know, these kinds of knives, they just get me motivated, and that's really important. I've said it in some other videos. It's so important to use a tool that makes you want to use it, that gets you excited about it. Even though I split the crap out of my finger earlier like a retard, but that's kind of me. I'm still out here having fun, not letting it put me aside. And boys, just thank y'all so much. If you enjoyed the content, I usually don't ask this, but help me get this thing boosted up. Like, subscribe, and just comment, man. Tell me if you think that my snare was great. Tell me if you think that it sucked. Tell me if you need more explanation on how to use it. And if you want to see other snares, tell me in the comments. Now, at the beginning of this video, I said that there is some controversy about the knife. And the controversy is that it was previously invented and not by Tom Brown. It's actually rumored that Tom Brown stole the idea from a man named Robb Russon, I believe, of Utah Knife Works, and his son Mark is trying to bring this to light. I'll put a link to the description down below, and you guys can formulate your own opinion and tell me whether or not you care about it. I mean, stolen or not, it's a highly functional tool, and I think time will tell if anything ever comes about it, if it was indeed stolen. My brothers, I'd like to take a moment to read to y'all something from Romans 12. Friends, do not avenge yourself. Instead, leave room for God's wrath. Vengeance belongs to me, and I will repay, says the Lord. But if your enemy is hungry, feed him. If he is thirsty, give him something to drink. For in doing so, you will be heaping fiery coals upon his head. Do not be conquered by evil, but conquer evil with good. And guys, there is so much in that. You know, maybe somebody has wronged you in the past. Maybe you have wronged yourself and can't forgive yourself. It's okay. Don't worry about it. There is so much happening out there in the world that you must move on. If you do not forgive, and I know it can be tough, maybe your son got taken from you, maybe you went through a nasty divorce, whatever it is, maybe somebody stole something, whatever it is, God's wrath will suffice, all right? If you do not forgive, anger will turn your brain into a prison. Your anger will become your own bondage, and this person who has wronged you will remain in control over you and your emotions without even having to do anything. Friends, get in the Word, let it go, trust in God. He's going to take care of us all. Thank you, boys. I love you, and if there's something I can do for you, if there's something I can pray for you about, please let me know in the comments, and we will do so together.